I started my full-fledged preparation after I joined the Ultimate Assessment Program at Civilsdaily.
There is a 12-month strategy which I have done on Civilsdaily platform only.
I reached out to the Civilsdaily team.
Civilsdaily. Current affairs में Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily. With Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily. Civilsdaily. To Civilsdaily.
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 A mentorship program of Civilsdaily, and that did help me a lot.
Prelims is not the test of your knowledge. Prelims is the test of your competence. The pattern of the paper has undergone a very transformative shift in last 5 to 6 years. If you don't have the proper direction, if you don't have the list of the themes that you need to prepare thoroughly, if you don't understand the emerging trend, if you don't have the elimination techniques, and most importantly, if you don't have the sufficient amount of the practice, so even if you study for 14 hours a day and mug up everything, you won't be able to clear the prelims. In recent times, prelims have become very unpredictable. We have prepared the list of around 150 plus micro themes, and we are expecting at least 40 to 45 questions from these 150, 160 micro themes. So as this number has doubled, the cutoff has come down by 41 marks. Such randomness or this, what you can say, higher difficulty or greater uncertainty. So for that, what you need is the proper direction or roadmap. There is a level playing field as far as the prelims is concerned. The theme of today's session is deconstructing the prelims. The analysis of last 5 years of the papers. So first, let me explain why this analysis is important. So why the analysis is important is because considering the randomness in the prelims, in recent times, prelims have become very unpredictable. So still, there is a pattern in the mains, but in prelims, there is no pattern as such from 2020 onwards. That's the reason why the cutoff is coming down, apart from the CSAT. So today we will analyze the reasons behind the decrease in the cutoff of the prelims, and we'll also try to find the solution as to how you should deal with this randomness or this new emerging dynamism, where the difficulty level of the UPSC prelims is increasing year by year. Okay. So first of all, so this is the cutoff of prelims from 2016 to 2023. Okay, so if you see, in 2016, the cutoff was 116. And it has come down to 75 in 2023. That means there is a drop of about 41 marks. And similarly, if you see the cutoff of the mains, so for the last 7 or 8 years, the mains cutoff has remained steady in the range of 740s. So when there is a proper pattern, the cutoff will also remain range bound. So cutoff of the mains has remained in the range of 740s. And when there is a pattern, it is easier to predict the questions. And that's why in this year's match mains, we have the 70% of the hit ratio in the mains. But because of the increasing randomness in the prelims, it is very difficult to predict the questions of the prelims. And that's where we have tried to analyze the last 5 years of the papers and the new emerging trends in the prelims. And based upon that, we have tried to identify the key micro themes which you have to focus upon while preparing your prelims. We have prepared the list of around 150 plus micro themes, which we will also focus in our dominant prelims, in lectures, in test papers, in notes, everything. And we are expecting at least 40 to 45 questions from these 150, 160 micro themes. Okay. Then the primary reasons that we have identified for the decreasing cutoff. How to analyze from the PYQs that I will explain. Okay. So why cutoff is coming down? So there are 5 primary reasons behind the declining cutoff of the prelims. The first primary reason is the change in the pattern of the paper. So like I said in the previous lecture also, or at the beginning of the session also, the pattern of the paper has undergone a very transformative shift in last 5 to 6 years. So earlier there used to be the proper theme-based papers. Now they have discontinued with those themes and they have started with the completely new themes. For example, if you see the papers from 2023 or 2024, you will find the new themes like the organizational structure in Indian Army, the different laws related to the law enforcement, the different laws related to the corruption or the terrorism. Within polity also, within economics also, they have shifted from the applied economics to more of a factual and organization based economics. I will explain all those changing patterns in the next slides. Apart from shifting towards the new themes, every year they are introducing some new themes or some new types of the questions, which is further increasing the difficulty level as well as creating the confusion in the minds of the students. So the second reason behind the declining of the cutoff is the change in the type of the questions. Third, as the pattern had changed, like I said, they have shifted from the traditional core themes to the new micro themes, like the organizational structure in the army. So they have already asked the two questions on the organizational structure of the army in 2024. One question with respect to the home guards they have asked in 2023. So these new emerging themes, as they are not covered in our standard books, because of that, the standard books are losing the relevance. For example, if you had 10 questions from polity, okay, till 2020, you used to get 8 to 9 questions from the Lakshmikant itself. Out of 7 to 8 questions of the modern history, you used to get minimum 6 questions from the spectrum itself. But as they have shifted the pattern or they have shifted the themes, the standard books are losing their relevance. So this creates the confusion with respect to the resources. Third or the fourth is the low accuracy rate. Because as the difficulty level increases, you can't rely on the accuracy rate. My personal experience is in 2016, I had attempted only 82 or 83 questions, or 85, I think. And out of that, I got 75 or yes, 74 or 75 correct. That means I had the accuracy rate of about 85%. But in 2020 attempt, I had to attempt 97 or 98 questions, and out of those, I got only 71 correct. That means my strike rate or the accuracy rate declined to 70%. Why? Because as the difficulty level of the question is getting increased, the questions of which you know the answer for certain are getting reduced. So जो questions जिनके आपको confirm answers पता थे, earlier till 2020 you used to have 40 to 45 such questions about which you were very confident. Yeah, at least those aspirants who are very serious and those who have followed the proper schedule and attempted enough tests. For them, 40 to 45 confirmed questions were there. So they used to secure 85 to 90 marks there itself. But that has come down to 30 to 35. And last is the CSAT factor. Every year there are about 1,000 to 2,000 aspirants who are able to clear their GS cutoff but not able to clear the CSAT. And thus they are losing the opportunity to write the mains. So these are the 5 core reasons why the cutoff is coming down. Now, if you go into the deeper analysis of the changing pattern, okay, let's see. So the change in the pattern of the paper, the very first reason. So the basic change in the pattern of the paper is that there is no pattern. Okay. So from if you analyze the papers from 2011 to 2019, you will be able to see there are few themes on which there used to be question every year. For example, in art and culture, you take Buddhism and Jainism. Every year, you used to have at least one question from Buddhism, Jainism. If you take the geography, from geography, every year you used to have a question on the river system, then the mountain systems, and then one question on the cropping pattern, one question on the climatic regions. Okay. Within polity also you used to have the questions from the fundamental rights as well as the DPSP and the parliament. Within economics, you used to have 7 to 8 questions from the applied economics, majorly on two topics: fiscal policy and monetary policy. So, what happens when RBI increases the repo rate? What happens in case of the expansionary monetary or fiscal policy? These kind of the applied questions were there every year. So, because of that pattern, it was very easy to focus your preparation and to consolidate your resources. But in this new dynamics, there is no pattern. The only things that you can identify from the last 5 years of the papers is that first, the increasing difficulty level. Second, increasing randomness in the question. Randomness means the questions which are not there into your standard resources. Okay. And third, change in the weightage of the subjects. Okay. To put it into the facts, so with respect to the difficulty level, if you see in 2016, there were 23 hard questions, and you can easily skip those questions. You can focus upon the remaining 77 questions, and if you maintain the accuracy rate of the 80%, you can easily clear the prelims. But that number has increased to about 38 in 2024 and 45 in 2023. So as this number has doubled, the cutoff has come down by 41 marks. And as the difficult level question were less in 2024 compared to 2023, cutoff has also increased. Because same with the easier level questions. The 35 easy questions has come down to 18 in 23, 27 in 2024. So the simple math that we explain in our course or in our mentorship is that while segregating these questions, the simple math is you need to maintain 90% of accuracy in easier questions. Then, with respect to the medium, you need to maintain around 70% of the accuracy. I mean, hard, it's absolutely fine even if you maintain 50% of the accuracy. If you do the simple math, you will be every year you'll find that you are able to clear your prelims with at least 10 buffer marks. So that's a simple logic. That's why whenever we have one-on-one discussion of the mock tests of the students or our mentees, during that time also we analyze their performance based on this parameter only. It is where the easier conceptual questions and still your accuracy rate was not 90%. That means there is a lack of revision of the standard books or there is a conceptual gaps. Okay, with respect to the medium level, your elimination technique will come into picture. If you are not maintaining 60 or 70% of the accuracy rate, the medium level of the question, that means you need to work upon your elimination techniques. In hard level questions, it's just a matter of consistency and meeting your gut feeling. Okay. Now, you see this, to put it into the graph, you see it has consistently gone up the level of the hard questions with respect to the random questions also. So from 2016 also, if you see or if you classify the questions, so in 2016 there were 43 questions which were from the standard resources and 27 questions which were from the current affairs. And there were around 17 questions in which one or two statements were from the static or one or two statements were from the current affairs. For example, there was one question with respect to the private member bill. So first statement was the factual statement. Any member of the parliament can introduce a private member bill. The second statement was the current affairs based. Recently, the first private member bill was passed in the Lok Sabha. So these kind of the questions are standard plus current affairs. These are the random questions. So in 2016, we had only 13 random questions. Okay, so the sources for these 13 questions were not the current affairs material or the your standard books. But that has gone up to 29 in 2024 and 32 in 2020. That means you can't solve these questions with absolute surety. Okay, and the number of the questions from the standard resources has gone down from 43 to 26 and 31. Okay, these are just the numbers. You don't need to remember these numbers. This is just to give you an idea or to explain the changing dynamics of the UPSC prelims. Then second aspect is the changes in the weightage. So within these subjects also there is a change in weightage. For example, every year there is a decreasing weightage of the polity, modern history, physical geography and applied economics. And that weightage has shifted towards the governance, art and culture, economic geography, science and tech, and mapping. Okay, if you see this, so these are the four conceptual questions. So in 2024, you had zero conceptual questions from polity. All the questions of the polity in 2024 were either from the governance or from the factual part of the polity. Similarly, the weightage of the modern history has come down to 3 from 6. The weightage of the physical geography increased to 11. But the weightage of the core or the applied economics, where you can solve the questions based upon the logic, has also come down from 14 to 3. And that weightage has shifted towards the, will see this declining weightage for every subject. So those slides are the next. Then the next is the change in the type of the questions. So these new type of the questions that they have introduced, the assertion and reasoning based questions, the multiple statement questions, or the factual or database questions. The new kind of the questions that they have added. So you need to prepare the strategy for dealing with those kind of subjects as well, or those kind of questions as well. For example, these are the questions based upon the assertion and reasoning. So in 23, they asked only 2 statement questions. But in 24, there was one question in which they gave 3 statements. So in 2025, you can expect a 4 statement assertion and reasoning based question also. Okay, so how to deal with these questions? That's where the elimination technique comes. Okay. In such kind of questions, you don't even need to know the concept. All you need to know whether the statement second explains the statement first. A simple method is, first you consider both the statements as correct. Then you first read the second statement. Then see whether second statement leads to the first statement. If it leads, then your answer will automatically be A. If it doesn't, A will be eliminated. Yeah, let's solve one question just for the example. Okay, if you see, now we'll solve this question. We'll first read the second statement. At the equator, heat is transported to a great heights by the strong convectional currents. We won't go into whether that statement is correct or whether that statement is wrong. Okay, we'll simply understand the statement that heat is transported at the great heights by the strong conventional currents. That means at the equator, the heat is at the higher level, and at the poles, the heat is at the lower level. Okay, that's just simple. And then thickness of the troposphere at the equator is much greater compared to the poles. So if you see, as heat is getting transported at the great heights by strong conventional currents, as heat is getting transported at the higher heights, so automatically the thickness of the troposphere will be greater at the equator compared to the poles. So the second statement is explaining the first statement. You don't even need to see the option B, C, D. Automatically your answer will be A. Okay. Similarly, if you see, these are some of the this yes, this is also one more question on the similar lines. Okay. So many chewing gums, again read the second statement at first. Many chewing gums contain plastic as the gum base. We won't go into the accuracy of the statement. So many chewing gums contain plastic, and many chewing gums found. Then the first statement: many chewing gums found in the market are considered a source of environmental pollution. Okay, so in the second statement that they are saying the chewing gum is the source of plastic, and plastic is the source of environmental pollution that you all know. That means second statement is explaining the first statement. Your answer will be A. Okay. Similarly, this is the new kind of the question where you can't apply the elimination technique. Okay. Either you need to know the accuracy of all the four statements or you don't. Earlier, for such questions, they used to provide the options like only 1, 2, 3, only 1, 3, only 2, 4, and all 4. So in such questions, elimination technique could be applied. But in this new pattern, you can't apply the elimination techniques. The only method that you can apply in such questions is the consistency method. So when we will discuss the papers or when in the dominant prelims, we do the live test solving of the last 8 years of the papers. There will be 2 hour session where I will solve the paper of last 8 years. Okay, live, and I will explain my the brainstorming method that I apply or the logic that I apply when solving the questions. Okay, so based upon that, you will be able to understand what logic you should apply in such kind of the questions. Okay, similarly, in the mapping based questions also, they have asked these kind of the questions in 2024, where the scope of the using elimination technique is almost zero. Okay. Now, this is with respect to the overall analysis of the papers, where there is the greater randomness, higher difficulty level, then the new kind of the questions or the new types of the questions which are making your elimination techniques irrelevant. So because of that, there is the prelims has become a more risky business than the mains. So now, how to deal with such randomness or this, what you can say is higher difficulty or greater uncertainty. Okay. So for that, what you need is the proper direction or roadmap. So now we have seen the problems or the issues. Now we'll shift towards the solutions. Okay. So solution, the level 1. Okay. First, you start with the analysis of the last 5 years of the papers. Okay, the analysis of the last 5 years of the papers is already uploaded on our website. You can download it from there. If you want to do on your own, then this is the method of analysis. Collect the previous year papers, categorize the topics into the microthemes. Okay, there is a list of around 160 microthemes that we have provided on our portal. You can download it. You can segregate the questions from those microthemes. So suppose your microthemes between polities bins. So you add all the questions that are there under the microtheme, the different types of the bins. I will show you the slides of the polity questions, where you will find the common theme, the different types of the bills. So within bills, you highlight the all types of the bills. You list down the procedure for passing of each type of the bills. You can prepare it into the tabular format. The comparative analysis will help you greater retention also. Okay. Then once you identify the micro themes, from there identify the repeated questions. And then based upon that, track the weightage of different sections. Based upon that, you can also find the change and the emerging trends. Then level 2, based upon your analysis of the papers, once you understand what is required or what is important, once you understand that, then you can decide on your resources. Because without the consolidated resources, see, prelims is a very risky business, majorly because firstly because of the greater uncertainty and difficulty, but secondly because of the rote learning that prelims involves. Unlike mains, in mains, suppose you mark 5 facts, and if you forget 1 or 2 facts, okay, that's absolutely fine. You can put only 3 facts, and that will be sufficient. But in prelims, you need to remember all the 5 facts. Without that, you can't get the correct answer. And for that, you need to have a proper consolidated notes with at least 3 revisions of these notes in order to ensure the higher accuracy. Okay. And within that resources, these are the resources that we normally suggest to our students. First, the standard notes or the standard books like the Lakshmikant Spectrum, then the Geography NCERT's Tamil Nadu Class 11 book for the art and culture and like that. So these are your standard books. And for every subject, you will be having the flash notes. So flash notes are basically the summary of the standard books. If the Lakshmikant is of 700 pages, the flash notes is of 120 pages only. So the flash notes is for the quick revisions. Then for the current affairs, the Samachar Manthan, which is the weekly current affairs, and the burning issues, which cover the important news on a monthly basis. Third, based upon your analysis of the micro themes, you do the value additions. And last, the value addition from the tests. So these are the only 4 themes or the 4 resources that you need to follow for your prelims. And trust me, these are more than sufficient. There is no point in reading more than 1 current affairs resources. You keep your resources limited, but make sure if the question gets from that resources, you are making no mistakes. You maintain 90% of the accuracy in the questions coming from the standard resources, and you will be able to clear prelims at any cost. Then the third is with respect to the schedule and time management. Normally, so before 2020, we used to suggest only 3 months for the prelims. Okay, so from 2016 was my first attempt, and from 2017 onwards, I used to give only 2.5 months for prelims because I knew the pattern, I knew the elimination techniques. Based upon that, I used to clear the prelims, even the forest cutoff also. Okay, but considering the uncertainty, you need to have minimum 3 revisions, and for that, you need to give minimum 4 months. That is the 120 days. Within 120 days, in first 45 days itself, your first round of the revision needs to be completed. Next 35 days, second. Next 30 days or 1 month, third round. In last 10 days, the quick revisions. But in that also, the most important thing is you need to segregate the dense themes. Dense themes as in the mapping, the factual part of the art and culture, or the international organizations, or the document of the government schemes or the endangered species, right? These are the very dense documents. If you try to cover all the government schemes in one day, you won't be able to retain even 20% after 1 week because of the overlapping and because of the confusion. That's why rather than covering these dense themes at one go, you allocate daily 30 minutes each for every theme. So you give daily 30 minutes for mapping, daily 30 minutes for either international organizations documents or schemes documents or the resources documents. You give daily 1 hour for the CSAT and you give daily 30 minutes for the art and culture related factual part. So on daily basis, you give 2.5 hours for this, 30 minutes each for everything. Daily you cover one theme in the mapping. One day you cover the this Himalayan rivers. Next day you cover the peninsular rivers. Then go to the mountains in next 2 to 3 days. So if you segregate these dense themes, there are the greater chances of retention. Otherwise, you will get confused. Yes, this is the kind of the schedule that I used to provide or we used to prepare. Yeah, we prepare for our students. So this is the schedule that I prepared for my last year's batch. The daily study hours, 7 hours for the GS, 1 hour for the CSAT, 40 minutes for mapping, 40 minutes for compilations as in organization schemes and all. And in the group content, every day I used to put 5 or 6 important themes or the content in my group of my mentees. Okay. Then for the tests also. So with respect to the sectional tests, we used to finish the sectional test in 1 hour, 40 minutes itself for better time management and 2 hours for the FNTs. Okay, so this at the beginning, these are our micro themes. So at the beginning, for the first round, I provided them with the daily targets or the daily schedules. So this was the target on 21 January 22nd. We started with the environment. Then we shifted to the from 28 after 1 week we shifted to the geography. These were our tests. We tried to ensure at least 2 tests per week and one CSAT test every 10 days. So our first round of the revision was completed on 6th March. So in about 45 days, we finished our first round. Then 4 days, one subject. So every 4 days, we covered one subject, we revised one subject with the current affairs of that, plus 2 tests. With that, we finished our second round of revision on 6th April itself. Then from 6th April to this 12th May, we finished, 15th May, we finished our third revision. Then we only gave the FNTs. That was the kind of the schedule that you need to prepare, and you need to be very honest and very brutal with yourself. You need to follow the schedule at any cost. Okay. So this is with respect to the schedule and time management. Then the next thing or the last thing is the study approach. This is the most important thing. Why? Because 99% of the aspirants who couldn't clear the prelims, okay, is because of the lack of proper direction and lack of proper approach. Okay, a basic mistake that you guys do is that you target the subject. Okay, so you pick the polity, you finish the polity in 1 week, then you, if you are sincere enough, you do one test of the polity and that's it. You shift towards the next subject, economy, geography, or modern history, whatever. But that's a wrong approach because for every topic that you cover, you need to have the self-analysis method. Yeah, until and unless you have the self-analysis method, without that, you won't be sure about the comprehensiveness and the conceptual clarity with respect to that topic. That's why the most important thing is go for the micromanagement. You don't target the subject, target the micro theme or the topic. And for that, we strictly follow the 4-step process. 4-step process is, yes, I will explain how to do the self-analysis. First, you read the topic. Suppose you are reading polity, you read the fundamental rights topic. Okay, that's your first reading. Then immediately you revise the flash notes. That's your simultaneous or the immediate revision. So you read your topic twice. Then third, go for the topic-wise PYQs. You solve all the PYQs from the fundamental rights chapter. Okay. From this, you will be able to identify the gaps in your content. So if any of the information that is there into the previous year questions or the statements that they have given in the previous year questions is not there, that means you need to add it into your notes. Last, pick up any topic wise the practice workbook and solve the MCQs from that particular chapter. So solve the MCQs from the fundamental rights. And this is your self-analysis method. If suppose you read the fundamental rights chapter, first reading from Lakshmikant, revision from flash notes, then you identify the comprehensiveness or ensure the comprehensiveness of your reading, solve the PYQs, then solve at least 20 questions of the practice. So this will ensure the first reading, the revision, this will ensure comprehensiveness, and this is your self-analysis method. So if out of 20 questions, if you are getting 17 to 18 questions correct, that means you have understood the topic well. That means there is a comprehensiveness in your preparation. And that will also boost your confidence. And trust me, confidence is the most important thing in clearing the prelims. If you have self-doubt or if you panic in the exam hall, you will end up making very silly mistakes. Okay. Dense topic as in the topics where content is very heavy. For example, you pick any of the this current affairs material. Okay. Every topic that they have covered is completely unrelated to the previous topic or the next topic. So each topic is unique. Because of that, grasping that content becomes very difficult. Suppose with respect to the mapping also, if you have covered the tributaries of around 10 rivers in one day, on next day itself you won't be able to retain or remember the tributaries of 5 or 6 rivers. But instead of that, suppose on daily basis you cover tributaries of 2 rivers each. After 1 week, you will be able to retain the tributaries of all the rivers. Yes, so whenever there is a dense content is very heavy or where you need the large amount of the rote learning. For such, rather than doing it at once, you segregate it into the parts and try to assign 30 or 40 minutes on a daily basis. Okay. Then the third step with respect to the approach is once you finish your daily target, please assign half an hour for revision of your daily studies. So whatever topics you have covered, just quickly glance through it in 30 minutes before going to the sleep. Last, like we discussed in the previous slide also, 2 to 2.5 hours for the dense topics. Okay. We have only focus on the micro themes. See, micro themes, simply understand micro themes in terms of the topic. So suppose if you have read fundamental rights, so the first step is you read it from Lakshmikant. Second, you read it from the flash notes. Third, you solve its PYQs. And fourth, you solve its practice questions. Okay, it will take 15 or maximum of 20 minutes extra, but it will ensure the comprehensiveness. Okay, any doubts till now? Yes, someone has raised the hand. The next is last aspect is the practice. Okay, so considering the difficulty level or the randomness. So if you want to tackle or ensure 50 to 60% accuracy in the difficult level questions and 70%, 60 to 70% accuracy in the medium level questions, the most important thing is the practice. So every year I ensure that each of my mentee is giving minimum of 40 to 45 tests and 10 to 12 CSAT tests. At any cost, you have to ensure this. Out of this, there will be 25 sectional and 15 FLTs. So at least these many tests are mandatory if you want to score good marks in prelims. Because rather than accuracy, the prelims has become more about your exam hall strategy, your elimination techniques, and your smart work with respect to the attempts. Teacher, before 2019, we used to suggest to focus upon accuracy. Before 2020 or 2019, it was very easy to maintain 80% of the accuracy. But at present, the maximum accuracy that you can maintain is 70 or 75%. Nobody is able to cross 75% of the accuracy in last 5 years. Okay, I have talked to the many of the aspirants. Okay, even in my own 2020 attempt, I had to attempt 97 or 98 questions. Okay, so minimum attempt you have to ensure 85 and maximum 95. So your attempt has to be in the range of 85 to 95. And that's why the practice aspect becomes very important. Okay. For that, what we have done in our dominant prelims is rather than the sectional tests, we have the sectional tests, but to ensure the continuity in the practice, okay, on every alternate day, there is a half length test of 50 questions. So every alternate day, you will be solving 50 questions. And there will be mandatory FNT on the weekends. Then from 15th April to 15th of May, in that 1 month, you have to give daily one test. Okay. You can give sectional or you can give the FNTs, that's up to you. But make sure you are attempting at least one test in these. The last year I had 190 weightage wise test. Okay. In 2023 prelims, he attempted, I think, around 53 or 54 tests. Okay. He got the rank also, he got into the IRS. But in 2024 prelims, because of the interview and all, he couldn't attend the test. And even the rank holder couldn't clear the prelims in 2024. That's the importance of the practice. Because see, even if you are preparing for 5 years, even if you are preparing for 1 year, or even if you are preparing for just 3 months, there is a level playing field as far as the prelims is concerned. Why? Because let me simply explain. If suppose one guy has given 5 attempts and given 4 mains, another has given 2 attempts and has given 1 mains, one more has given 3 attempts, not clear, 0 mains. One guy is the complete fresher, but serious aspirant. I'm not talking about the aspirants who are not serious. For all the guys, there are going to be only 35 to 40 questions or about which they are certain. You talk to anyone, okay, who has cleared the prelims in last 4 to 5 years. You ask him this, how many questions you were certain of? Okay, the number will never cross 40. Okay, and I'm being very optimistic with respect to 40 number. Maximum is 35. Okay, so for all these aspirants, there is a level playing field. Okay, and that's why the only difference will be of the practice and how you apply your elimination techniques and how you decide on your attempt in the remaining 60 to 65 questions. Okay, for better attempting these questions, practice. Okay, this is the importance of the practice, and for that you need this much. Is it clear? Okay. Now, before explaining you the analysis of the 4 core subjects, history, geography, polity, and economics. Okay. So as far as the history is concerned, if you see from 2017, okay, the share of the modern history is coming down. So there were 7 questions from modern history in 2017. It has come down to 3 questions in 23-24. So consistently, it has gone down. So 97433. On the other hand, the share of ancient has increased from 2 to 5, and medieval has increased from 1 to 7. In 2024 also there was only 1 question. But like I said in the previous slides also, the pattern is changing. So the weightage is changing. So in history, the weightage has changed from modern history to the ancient and medieval history. Okay, you can analyze it from the previous year papers. Similarly, in geography also. Yeah, earlier, the weightage for the physical geography was low. There were 0 questions from physical geography or the world geography in 2017. But in 2024, there were 10 questions from the physical geography. And the share of the Indian geography has come down. And the new trend that has emerged within geography is that they are asking more and more questions on the economic geography. So within economic geography, if you see the papers in our dominant prelim session, we will explain the themes on which they are asking the questions. So major themes, the minerals, then the commercial crops. These are the major themes on which they have asked the questions. Last year also they asked the question on the cobalt. Right, so they have shifted from the physical geography to the economic geography. And the weightage of the mapping has remained constant. Only the pattern of the question has changed. Okay, so this is the shift in the pattern in the geography. Within economics also, if you see the core conceptual questions within economics, okay, it has come down from 9 to 3. So the questions which you can solve by application of the elimination techniques. Okay, similarly, the current affairs based question also have come down in economics. The overall share of the economics has come down, but within economics also, the majority of the questions that they are asking are either factual or current affairs based, rather than the logical applied questions. You can within polity, if you see the change. So earlier, they used to ask the majority of the questions on the core conceptual. Now they are taking the themes which are on the fringe and which are very factual. Earlier, they used to ask the procedural aspect related questions. Now they are asking the article based questions. Right. Then the fundamental shift in polity is earlier their themes used to be very broad. The fundamental rights, DPSP, fundamental duties, parliament, judiciary, federalism. But now they are picking very narrow or the fringe themes, which we normally ignore. the voting weightage. For example, the share of the Arunachal Pradesh and the Kerala with respect to the voting for the election of the president. Last year, they asked the question on the zonal councils. Last year, there were 3 questions on the schedules of the constitution itself. They asked the question on the 7th schedule, they asked the question on the 11th schedule, and they asked the question on the 8th schedule. Right? These are the new themes that they are asking the questions from. And how this analysis helps you is yes. If you see polity and governance with respect to the weightage, in 2017, the core conceptual questions were only 12. And in 2024, there was 0 conceptual questions from polity. All the 17 questions that they asked from polity and governance were either factual or related to governance. They had 0 questions or 0 conceptual questions from polity. Right? Majority of the questions were from the factual or article based. They asked 2 questions from the governance. So in 2017, we had 0 questions from the governance. And that share is increasing every year. So let's see the questions. If you see 2017, these were the conceptual questions, which is not the feature of the federalism. So the simple concept of the federalism is division of power between the center and state. So independent judiciary is the federal feature. Powers have been clearly divided, so division of power between center and state. Okay. So the then result of agreement among the federating units have been given unequal representation in Rajya Sabha. So this is also a feature of Indian federalism. So UP has more number of Rajya Sabha MPs than the smaller state like Arunachal Pradesh and Delhi. Right. Last, it is the result of agreement among federating units, which is wrong. India is a case of holding together rather than coming together model. Right. So this is a conceptual question. Right. Similarly, principle underlying the cabinet form of government. So cabinet form of government basically means principle of collective responsibility. Right. So collective responsibility. These are the conceptual questions. So in 2017, you had 5, 8, 11 conceptual questions. Right. And these are very easier questions to solve. Right to vote. It is not a fundamental right, not a natural, it is a constitutional right as it is included into the constitution. Right. Similarly, judicial review, the power of judiciary. And see, this is how your analysis helps you. Okay. So if you have the conceptual understanding of judicial review, right? So judicial review basically means the power of judiciary to question the wisdom of the laws enacted by the legislatures or to check the constitutionality of the laws and executive orders. That is the judicial review. So if you know the concept of the judicial review, you will be able to solve the conceptual questions from 2023 where they ask the meaning of the due process of law. Then it is a simple local self-government, democratic decentralization. So these were the simple conceptual questions. Right. And second thing, if you analyze the PYQs properly, you can get the repeated questions also. For example, if you see in 2024, there were 0 conceptual questions. All the questions that they asked were with respect to the facts only or either articles. If you see the new trend that is emerging with respect to the schedule, In 24, they asked the question on the 8th schedule. Then the part 11, right? And then with respect to the 7th schedule. So that means you have to study all the parts of the Constitution and the schedules of the Constitution properly. Right? That's how you identify the microthemes. Then right to privacy under Article 21, which was asked in 2024, was also previously asked in the year the right to privacy. So the same question they have already asked in 2021. So only if you cover the PYQs, you can get the maximum iteration. Now, the second micro theme that we discussed previously is with respect to the bills. Right, so the different types of the bills, that was our micro theme. And if you see the previous year questions, so the bills question, related questions will come into the factual part. So in 2017 bills question, so the private member bills, they ask the question on the bill. Okay. Then if you come to the 2024 factual questions with respect to the money bill, right? Then if you come to the 2023 papers, this is again with respect to the finance bill. If you come to the 2022, again here also you will find the amendment bill, right? So in this way, we have identified the themes, and or you have to classify your content into the micro themes. Only with that approach, it will be very easier for you to clear the exams. If you don't have the proper direction, if you don't have the list of the themes that you need to prepare thoroughly, if you don't understand the emerging trend, if you don't have the elimination techniques, and most importantly, if you don't have the sufficient amount of the practice, okay, so even if you study for 14 hours a day and mug up everything, okay, you won't be able to clear the prelims, because prelims is not the test of your knowledge. Prelims is the test of your competence. Okay, it's the test of your smartness. Because, like I said, there is a complete level playing field. Only those aspirants who adopt the proper strategy, who follow the proper schedule, or who ensure the proper content consolidation and the practice, only they succeed into the prelims.